Hey there guys and gals, what's going on? I'm going to talk about wrestling in this video. I haven't talked about wrestling, I don't think, ever on this channel. But I'm going to talk about it in this video. And I'm going to talk about a very specific wrestler. And that wrestler is Brock Lesnar, who I consider to be the biggest bitch on the face of the planet. Because, think about it. Just think about it for a split second. He started off in the WWE, got a swollen head, thought he could make it in the UFC, so he goes to the UFC. His first few opponents, smaller than him, kicks the shit out of him. Then he starts to run into the bigger fucking people in the UFC. You know, Shane Carwin, who he had trouble with. Then he runs into Cain Velasquez, who kicks the shit out of him. And then he runs into the biggest fucking person I think that's ever been in the UFC. And that is Alistair Overeem. And Overeem destroys him. And after that match, he gets on the microphone and says, you know, this was going to be my last match. If I won, you know, the next match would have been my last match. And he played the whole, you know, disease card. You know, I think it was his liver. You know, he had something wrong with his liver. And, you know, I'm bowing out, you know, because my wife urged me to, you know, hiding behind the skirts of a fucking woman. Which I think is a punk move. Now, you know, bowing out when your health is in trouble isn't a punk move. You know, if Brock had said when he was going to face Alistair Overeem, if he said before the match, I'm not going to fight you, I'm going to leave the UFC, you know, I have this thing with my liver, I can't do this anymore, I would have maybe respected Brock more. But he didn't do that. After he got his ass fucking destroyed by Alistair, then he fucking is, oh my god, my liver, and, you know, my wife told me to do this, and yeah, bitch. Because, to me, I think he was basically making it look like, oh, I didn't lose because I was, you know, a fucking, a retarded child compared to Alistair Overeem. No. You know, I lost because of my kidney. I lost because of my, you know, my internal organs. I didn't lose because I'm a bad fucking fighter. No. I lost because of this disease that I have, conveniently. And then what does he do? He comes back to the WWE. Because he can't hack it in real fights. He can't hack it in 3 5-minute rounds where you can basically do whatever you can to injure your opponent. Now don't get me wrong, I love WWE. I'm a WWE fan through and through. I didn't watch it for a couple of fucking years because it was getting too ridiculous and too PG, but it's returning to the better era of wrestling where there was actual conflict and, you know, you felt that these people actually hated each other. And, you know, the promos were better. You know, CM Punk's promos were better. Just the storylines, you know, the AJ Lee, Big E Langston, and Caitlyn, and Dolph Ziggler stuff. I love it. I love Dolph Ziggler poking and prodding at AJ Lee. That's entertaining. You know, and I'm not going to take away the fact that they can, you know, take some fucking damage. I'm not taking that away from them. You know, I'm not taking that away from anybody who does anything in the WWE. You know, they punish themselves. But it's different than, you know, the UFC and the MMA. Because in the MMA, the only way the match stops is that your opponent is either, you know, not actively defending himself or herself, you break their arm or you make them tap out, or you just kick them in the head at the right time and right point and they're fucking out. They're actively knocked the fuck out. WWE, everything's more or less scripted. You know what they do in the ring? Again, I'll give them props for that. But you know, it's not as a frenetic pace as the UFC or MMA. And Brock couldn't hack the UFC. He couldn't take fighting people who were on the same size level as he was, and someone who was better at martial arts than he was. You know, Alistair Overeem, there's a reason why his nickname is the Demolition Man, because he destroys people. He fucking proved that he could beat the shit out of someone about the same size as he is in Brock Lesnar. You know, Brock Lesnar proved that he couldn't hack it with the bigger fucking fighters. And Brock's a pussy. He's a big, fat fucking pussy. You know, I would never get into the ring with, you know, Cain Velasquez or Alistair Overeem, because I know they'd kick the shit out of me. You know, they'd be able to just lift me up and toss me around the fucking ring, the octagon, like nobody's fucking business. You know, I don't have any martial arts training. I don't have, you know, anything. I'd like to get that kind of training. I'd like to be in the UFC. I'd like to have those kinds of fights where it's just, you know, stay in the pocket and just beat the shit out of people. I'd love to do that. But yeah, I don't have the money for the gyms. I don't have anything. But Brock has all of the, you know, he has big hands. He's a big fucking asswipe, you know. He has the muscles. I'm sure he has some fighting capability, but he doesn't have the skills that Alistair Overeem does. You know, Alistair Overeem can choke you the fuck out, and he can kick your skull in. You know, he's pretty well a complete package of MMA. Brock isn't that. You know, he does so much better at WWE. And I just saw him. I just got done watching Raw, and he got the fucking, like, I liked the ending of Raw because it was satisfying. Because, you know, Brock got the shit kicked out of him with a fucking camera. And then a fucking chair. And then, just like at the end of the match, like, Brock literally really looked like he was injured. Like, he looked like, I almost expect this out of Brock, but, you know, it wouldn't surprise me that, you know, after the match with CM Punk at, I think it's SummerSlam, it wouldn't surprise me if Brock is like, oh, you know, he didn't beat me because, you know, he's the better wrestler, he's the better athlete. No, because, you know, my liver's acting up again. It would not fucking surprise me if he used that same shit he used in the UFC in the WWE. And it wouldn't, like, and I love this because Brock actually says in one of the promos, like, oh, you know, for the match, oh, like, you know, size does matter in this match. Yeah, it does. You know, you fighting someone who's smaller than you is a hell of a lot different than you fighting someone who's the same size as you. That's why you don't face the Big Show. That's why you don't fight a Big Khali. You know, or the Great Khali. You know, that's why you don't face those fucks, because they're bigger than you. And you know, and I'm sure I wouldn't want to get hit by fucking Big Show or the Great Khali. Yeah. But, you know, Brock is about the same size. Like, he's a big fucking dude, and he doesn't wrestle those guys, but he wrestles fucking CM Punk of all fucking people. Or he fights smaller people. He doesn't fight people about the same size as him. He doesn't fight Ryback. I would actually pay to see Ryback and, you know, Lesnar fucking fight, you know, wrestle. It would be an entertaining match because it'd be. I hate Ryback as much as I fucking hate him. He's someone you love to hate. Brock Lesnar, I just fucking hate. You know, I hate him as a human being. I hate him for all of the stupid shit he's fucking said in the UFC, for all of the fucking, you know, all of the backing down he did in the UFC. He came on the scene, busted through, and nobody expected what to do, and then once people started to settle in, you know, they started to, you know, have him face people who weighed the same as him. He just crumbled like a fucking glass tiger, and it's so fucking hilarious to me that he couldn't, you know, he got such a big ego in the WWE, which I'm sure that's the only reason he actually did that. It's not because, you know, he just decided, oh, like, you know, if he really thought he could do MMA, he could have done MMA from the get-go. He didn't have to do WWE. But he was in WWE for whatever reason, he got it up his up his ass that he could fucking, you know, fight in the UFC. And when he was fighting, you know, Brock is a pussy. That's what he is. He's a fucking pussy. You know, you don't see him, you know, I want to see him back in the octagon. You know, and I think it's a perfect psychological fuck you to Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. CM Punk should bring Alistair Overeem to the ring as his fucking, like, his manager for that match. Just bring Alistair Overeem, because it would be fucking awesome. It really would. You know, that's what I would do if I was Vince or Triple H. I'd be like, let's bring fucking Alistair Overeem down to the ring. Don't tell Brock. Don't tell Brock anything. Let's do it the day of. Just do it the day of, and fucking see the reaction of the fans. Or see the reaction of Brock. Because that would be fucking priceless. That would be priceless. But, you know. I hate Brock Lesnar. I really fucking do. He's a numbskull, and he's the beast. You know, you'd think he would have changed in the years intervening, you know, when he was in WWE, in the UFC, and then when he was, you know, back in the WWE. You think he would have changed. But no. He couldn't evolve. He just had to go, oh, I'm going to go back and do the same shit I used to do in the WWE. Fucking Christ. You know, fucking Christian's changed. Which I find funny that they don't ever actually mention his time in TNA. They don't acknowledge it. But, yeah. It's just... He hasn't evolved. He's the same piece of shit wrestler he was in fucking the early 2000s as he is now. He hasn't changed. You think the MMA experience would change him? You know, you think he'd actually have, like, I don't know, a differing style than just like, I'm gonna fucking bounce around on my heels as my entrance. You know, he could have been like, I'm gonna fucking. He could have used the UFC. You know, he could have used it as a fucking story piece, but he didn't, because he didn't want any people to fucking realize that he'd been in the UFC and got his ass kicked. But I think that's done. I think I've repeated myself a couple times in this fucking video, but I don't care. But yeah, let's can't wait to see. You know, I can't see what I want to see what happens at SummerSlam. Yeah, and if you're wondering what about this, I just want to, you know, wear it. Because it's just, all my other videos are just me having my hair down, or, you know, my hair in a ponytail. So I thought I'd put this on my fucking head because I found it again. But yeah, fuck Brock Lesnar. He's a bunch of bullshit, and I expect to see a lot of fanboy comments from Brock Lesnar's fan list.